Hey everyone, it's Nicole with Gypsy Quilter, and I want to tell you all about our awesome wool pressing mats. These wool pressing mats are made with 100% New Zealand wool. That's right, it's 100% premium New Zealand wool. Our mats come in 7 sizes that you can see on our screen. And let me show you how they work. So what we have here is a beautiful pieced block, and you'll see it needs a little bit of pressing. So the beauty of the wool mat is when you press, you're pressing both sides of the block at once. So I have my iron hot and ready, and it's a dry iron, and I'm going to press right on the seams and flatten them out beautifully. Now if you have a little area that is being stubborn and not wanting to press flat, or you have an area where there's multiple seam intersections, grab your clapper and clap it right down on the seam and give it a moment. What's going to happen is the heat from the iron is going to be drawn up into the wood block. Now you can see just how flat that seam is. The reason for using a wool pressing mat is that the heat from the iron goes down into the wool, and you're not losing any heat on either side of the iron. So really you're pressing both sides of your fabric at the same time to give yourself a really nice, really crisp seam. So we have one area here to continue to press. And now you can see just how beautifully flat and pieced to perfection this block is. I have a few tips and tricks for your wool mat to keep it looking and feeling like new for the rest of your pressing days. The first tip is, many of us like to use spray starch or a starch alternative when we're pressing our blocks, and that's fine. But what you're going to want to do is spray it the night before. Let it dry completely, and then once your block is dry, then you can go ahead and press it. The reason is we don't want to add any moisture, water, or liquid to our mat. The mat is made of 100% wool, which is the hair of a sheep. So what we don't want to do is put any moisture down into the core of the mat, because that could cause a smell or mildew over time. So go ahead and marinate your blocks the night before. When they're dry, then go ahead and press. Another tip is to always protect your mat from glue or other adhesives. So when you're using any type of fusible material, what you'll want to do is grab your Applifuse mat and put that right down on your mat. The Applifuse mat will protect your wool mat from any type of glue, and also the wool mat will protect your table from the heat of the iron. The Applifuse mat will not protect your table from heat. So the Applifuse mat and the wool mat really do work together. So you want to have these guys side by side. Now let's say your mat gets a little bit scorched or burned because maybe you were using a fusible directly on the mat, or maybe you decided that you wanted to use spray starch while you were pressing. If you get a little bit of scorch on the mat, you can use a razor blade or a sweater comb to gently scrape away the top layers that have been scorched. If your mat gets really dirty, you can absolutely wash it in the bathtub with some gentle soap, or you can even throw it into your washing machine and wash it that way. What you'll want to make sure is that you really blot it off with a clean, dry towel, and then you leave it somewhere to dry where it can hang up and dry fully so that there isn't any moisture or water left in the core of the mat. One final tip is that you want to make sure to use a hot, dry iron. So we definitely do not want to use any steam when we're using our wool mat. Steam is liquid and it will put moisture down into the core of your mat where you definitely don't want it. So if you follow these tips and tricks, your wool mat will stay looking and pressing new for, well, forever. I hope you enjoyed this video.